What happens when a wildlife expert and a beloved talk show host clash on live television a way nobody saw coming? The cameras were rolling. The audience was laughing. And then everything changed in an instant that left the entire studio absolutely silent. Before we get into what went down, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, letting me know whether you think Robert crossed the linear, Kelly overreacted. Now, let's get into this unbelievable exchange. The Kelly Clarkson Show was taping a new episode, and Robert Irwin was the guest everyone had been buzzing about. He walked out with his usual charm, carrying a small container that clearly held something, and the audience erupted in applause. Kelly greeted him with her warm signature hug as he settled onto the couch. "Robert, it's so good to have you back," Kelly smiled. "I swear, every time you show up, I'm both excited and terrified of whatever you brought with you." The audience laughed. Robert chuckled, setting the container on the table. "Well, I promise this one's harmless," he said. "Actually, I think you're really going to like her." Kelly's eyes narrowed playfully. "See, the moment you say that, my anxiety spikes. What's in there?" "This," Robert announced, opening the container as a blue-tongued skink. "She's absolutely beautiful and completely docile. They're native to Australia, and they're one of the gentlest reptiles on the planet." He lifted the skink out sleek, blue-scaled, tongue flicking curiously. Kelly leaned back slightly, smiling but obviously tense. "Okay. She's actually kind of cute," Kelly admitted. "But I'm going to be honest, Roberty, respect reptiles." "From a distance, I get that," Robert said, gently stroking the skink. "But you know, Kelly, this fear people have of reptiles, it's really harmful. It hurts conservation efforts. These animals deserve respect, not fear." There was a subtle shift in his tone. Kelly felt it. "Well, I mean, people can respect animals without wanting to hold them," she replied. "That seems fair, right?" "Sure," Robert said. "But the problem is when people with huge platforms like you enforce the idea that reptiles are scary or gross. Whether you say it or not, your reactions tell millions of viewers that fear is normal. That leads to these animals being ignored. Or worse." The audience went quiet. Kelly blinked, caught off guard. "People like me," she repeated. "Robert, I've never said reptiles are gross. I just said I'm not comfortable holding them." "That's different. Is it though?" Robert countered. "Because when I brought her out, you physically leaned away. Your body language sends a message. And someone with your influence. That message has consequences." Kelly's expression hardened surprised, now turning into irritation. "Robert, I think you're overanalyzing a normal human reaction," she said. "If someone brought out a tarantula, I'd lean back too. I'm not launching an anti-spider movement, but you're normalizing fear," Robert pushed. "My entire life, me family's missiana's been to show people that these animals aren't monsters. My father died doing this work, Kelly. And when I come on shows like yours and see hosts react with fear or disgust of Insubtlite undermines everything we're trying to teach." The studio fell absolutely silent. Kelly's jaw tightened. She placed her cue cards aside. "First of all, Robert, I have nothing but respect for your father and everything your family stands for," she said. "But you don't get to come on my show and lecture me about my natural reactions. I've had you on multiple times. I've held snakes. I've held spiders. I've done everything to support what you do. And I appreciate that," Robert said, though his tone said otherwise. Robert replied calmly, "But appreciation isn't enough. Kelly, we need people to actually change their perspectives. Not just tolerate animals for a cute 5-minute segment." Kelly laughed, but it wasn't her usual warm, bubbly laugh. It was sharp, disbelieving. "Are you seriously sitting on my couch right now, telling me I'm not doing enough for wildlife conservation?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "Robert, this is a daytime talk show. We're here to entertain Pia Plito, give them a break from their day. I'm not running a wildlife documentary series. Maybe that's the problem," Robert shot back without missing a beat. Maybe if shows like yours took conservation seriously instead of treating animals like circus acts, we'd be in a better position as a planet." The audience gasped audibly. Kelly pushed herself up from her chair. For a moment, it looked like she might actually walk off her own set. Instead, she squared her shoulders, turning to face Robert directly. Her voice was controlled, but icy. "I want to be very clear about something," she said. "I invited you here as a guest. I've supported your work, your family's legacy. I've given you a platform to reach millions. But I will not sit here and be disrespected on my own show. If you think what we do is treating animals like circus acts, then maybe you shouldn't have agreed to come on in the first place." Robert rose, still holding the skink, his jaw set. "Maybe you're right," he said. "Maybe I shouldn't have. Because clearly you're more interested in getting laughs than making a difference." "Get off my stage," Kelly snapped, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. "Right now. We're done here." "Gladly," Robert replied, placing the skink back in its container with deliberate care. "I have better places to be than somewhere that treats important work like entertainment filler." "Security," Kelly called out, though no one moved. The producers were frozen, cameras still rolling, the meltdown unfolding in real time. Robert lifted the container and started walking off stage. Kelly sank back into her chair, visibly shaking whether from fury or shock, no one could tell. The audience sat in breathless silence. Then, just as Robert reached the edge of the stage, Kelly said it. "You know what, Robert?" she called out. "Your father would be ashamed of how you just acted." The words hit the room like a physical blow. Robert froze. He turned slowly, his face pale, the container trembling slightly in his hands. Kelly's expression shifted, realized instantly that she had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. "What did you just say?" Robert asked, barely above a whisper. The studio was so silent that every syllable echoed. Kelly opened her mouth, but nothing came out. "I want you to repeat it," Robert said, stepping back toward center stage. "Go on. You wanted to bring up my father? Let's talk about him." He set the container down, staring her down. "Let's talk about how he spent every single day of his life, trying to teach people that every creature on this earth matters. Let's talk about how he died doing exactly that." Kelly swallowed hard. "I shouldn't have said that," she whispered. "That was out of line." "You think?" Robert's voice cracked as emotion finally broke through. "You think bringing up my dead father and saying he'd be ashamed of me is just a little out of line? Is that what you do when someone challenges you on your own show?" Kelly stood again, hands raised, trying to calm the moment she'd created. "Robert, I'm apologizing. I was angry. I said something I shouldn't have. But you also came on here and attacked me for what? Not being enthusiastic enough about a lizard." "It's not about the lizard," Robert said, voice trembling. "It's about what you represent." "You have millions of people watching you every single day," Robert said, voice shaking with intensity. "And you use that platform to sell products, crack jokes, and do celebrity gossip. Then someone comes on your show trying to do something meaningful and you treat it like a novelty act. That isn't fair." Kelly fired back instantly, her own voice rising. "I've had countless guests come here to talk about important issues. I've raised money for charities. I've highlighted real causes. I've given platforms to people doing incredible work. You don't get to erase all of that just because I don't want to hold every reptile you bring out here." "But that's the point, Kelly," Robert replied, stepping closer. "You do hold them. You do it for the cameras, for the bit, for the laughs. But the moment we start talking seriously about conservation, about why these animals actually matter, you shut down. You get defensive. You make it about you. Because you made it about me," Kelly snapped, throwing her hands up. "You came out here and instead of just showing people this beautiful animal and educating them, you used your time to attack me. How does that help your cause? How does alienating a host who supported you help conservation?" Robert set the container down harder than he meant to. The thud echoed through the silent studio. "You want to know why I did that?" he said, voice raw. "Because I'm tired. I'm exhausted from going on show after show watching hosts pretend to care for 7 minutes before tossing to a cooking demo or a musical performance. I'm tired of being the entertainment. My family's work, my father's legacy, means something. It's not a cute segment wedged between commercials." The audience was frozen, watching the confrontation unfold like a scene out of a scripted drama, except it wasn't scripted at all. Kelly crossed her arms tightly. Her jaw clenched. "So what do you want from me, Robert? Do you want me to cancel the rest of my show and turn it into a wildlife documentary?" Kelly fired back, exasperation cutting through every word. "Do you want me to dedicate every single episode to conservation? Because that's not what this show is. You knew that when you agreed to come." "I want authenticity," Robert replied, voice steady but charged. "I want you to stop pretending. If you don't care about these animals, if you're just tolerating them for ratings, then say that. Be honest about it. Don't smile for the camera and act fascinated when you're really counting the seconds until I'm off stage." Kelly's eyes flashed. "You want authenticity. Fine, here's authentic. Yes, Robert, I'm sometimes uncomfortable around reptiles. Yes, sometimes I am counting down the seconds during certain segments, including yours. You know why? Because this is a job. I do 4 shows a week. I interview dozens of people. I can't be deeply emotionally invested in every single topic that walks across my stage. That doesn't mean I don't respect the work. It means I'm human. At least that's honest," Robert said softly, nodding. "So all those times you told me the animals were amazing, that the work mattered, were you lying?" "I wasn't lying," Kelly insisted, frustration tightening her voice. "I do think it's amazing. I do think it's important. But I can believe something matters without dedicating my entire life to it. You're holding me to an impossible standard." "No," Robert said, stepping forward. "I'm holding you to the standard my father set. He believed everyone has a responsibility to care about the natural world, not just wildlife experts. Everyone. And people like you people with influence carry even more responsibility." Kelly let out a short, bitter laugh. "Your father was a saint to you, Robert. I get that. But not everyone can be Steve Irwin. Not everyone can devote their whole existence to one mission. Some of us have to balance 100 different things while entertaining millions. It's not as simple as you're making it sound." "Don't you dare talk about my father like you knew him," Robert said, voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. "Don't pretend you understand what he believed or lived for." "I'm not claiming to have known him," Kelly said, calmer now, but firm. "But I know what I've seen. And I know he'd be horrified watching you attack someone who has given you multiple platforms to share your message. He brought people together, Robert. He didn't tear them apart." The audience murmured, some nodding with Kelly, others clearly siding with Robert. The tension in the room felt electric. "You have no right to say what my father would think," Robert snapped. "You've invited me here 3 times. 3. And every single time it's the same you act. Nervous? You make jokes about being scared. You thank me, and then you move on. Nothing changes. No minds change. It's just entertainment. Then stop coming." Kelly threw her hands up. "If it's that awful, Liv, I'm that awful, then decline the invitation next time. But don't come here, sit on my couch, accept my hospitality, and then accuse me of not living up to your impossible expectations. Maybe I will stop coming," Robert shot back. "Maybe that's exactly what I should do, because clearly this isn't working." "Fine by me," Kelly said coldly. "I have plenty of guests who actually appreciate the opportunity to reach our audience." "You mean guests who will smile, nod, and give you exactly what you want?" Robert retorted, without challenging you or making you uncomfortable. "I mean guests who understand basic professionalism," Kelly snapped. "Guests who don't throw tantrums because I'm not swooning over every single animal they bring." Robert lifted the container again. This isn't a tantrum, Kelly. This is me finally saying what I and a lot of people in conservation have been thinking for years, that people like you treat our work like a joke. And this, Kelly shot back, is me finally saying what I've been thinking, that you have an arrogance problem. Kelly's voice was low but steady. You walk around acting like your work is the only work that matters. Like conservation gives you the right to talk down to everyone else. Newsflash, Robert, everyone's work is important to them. You're not special just because you work with animals. The words hung heavy in the air, sharp enough to cut through the silence. Robert's face shifted from pale, too tight, to flushed with anger. Kelly didn't move. Her chin stayed lifted. Her posture rigid, though her hands trembled slightly at her sides. Get off my stage, Kelly said again, each word crisp, deliberate. This interview is over. This relationship is over. You are no longer welcome on this show. Robert gave one hard nod. Trust me, I won't be back. He turned and walked off, no hesitation this time. No pause, no glance over his shoulder. The audience watched him disappear through the side exit, stunned into absolute silence. Every camera stayed fixed on Kelly, capturing her standing alone in the center of her stage, breath uneven from the adrenaline still running through her. Kelly finally looked out at the faces, staring back, hundreds of them, frozen between shock, sympathy, and judgment. Well, she said, her voice trembling just a little, that was something. A few uneasy laughs trickled through the room, but quickly died out. Kelly sank into her chair, dragging a hand through her hair. I need a minute here, folks. I'm shaken up. Not going to pretend I'm not. The audience remained quiet, waiting for her to continue. Kelly glanced toward her producers off stage, then returned her focus to the crowd. You know what? No, I'm not going to just move on like that didn't happen. We're live. You all saw it. So we're going to talk about it. She took a steadying breath. I have been doing this show for years. I've had thousands of guests sit on this couch. I've had uncomfortable moments, disagreements, of course. But I have never had someone come on my stage and treat me the way Robert just did. A few audience members nodded. Others shifted in their seats. And the thing is, Kelly went on, her voice gaining strength. I understand he's passionate. I respect that he cares deeply about conservation. I've never once dismissed the importance of what he and his family do. She stepped away from her chair and began pacing slowly, grounding herself with each step. But what just happened was not about conservation. It was about him deciding that because I'm not as devoted as he is, because I'm not living his life or carrying his mission, that somehow makes me the villain. She turned back to the audience. I work hard on this show. My team works hard. We pour our hearts into bringing people joy, to giving them something uplifting. We laugh, we cry, and yes, we try to educate when we can. But we're a talk show, not a nature documentary. There is value in what we do. Soft applause grew, then strengthened, but Kelly lifted a hand to stop it. And here's what really gets me, she said. Robert brought up his father repeatedly today. He used his father's death, his father's legacy, as a weapon to corner me, to shame me, to prove a point. And then when I said one sentence that I immediately regretted and apologized for, he made it seem like I'd crossed an unforgivable line. She paused, swallowing hard, eyes glistening. I lost my father, too. I know what that grief feels like. And I would never use that pain to belittle someone else to win an argument. That's not okay. I don't care how important your cause is. You don't get to do that. The applause rose again, louder, more certain. Kelly nodded gratefully as it washed over her, steadying her breath. And you know what else? Kelly said, her voice steadier now, but edged with hurt. I'm tired of being made to feel guilty for being human, for having normal reactions to things. She gestured broadly, frustration spilling through. I've held snakes on this show. I've let tarantulas crawl on me. I've done things that genuinely terrify me because I want to support the people who come on here. But apparently, that's still not enough. Apparently, Unless I quit my job, move to Australia, and spend my life in a wildlife sanctuary, I'm suddenly part of the problem. She let out a short, sharp laugh, one with no humor behind it. That's not fair. That's not reasonable. And honestly, that kind of attitude, it pushes people away from causes. It doesn't bring them in. You don't inspire change by making people feel inadequate. You don't motivate anyone by attacking everyone who isn't doing exactly what you're doing. Kelly sank into her chair again, smoothing her dress with trembling hands. I want to be very clear about something, she continued. I still respect the Irwin family's work. I still believe wildlife conservation matters. What happened today doesn't change that. She leaned forward, locking eyes with the camera. What it does change is my willingness to sit here and be lectured, belittled, and spoken to like I'm some morally inferior person. I won't accept that from Robert or anyone else. She stared directly into the lens now, her voice calm but firm. And if Robert is watching, which I'm sure he will be, I want to say this. You owe me an apology. Not for disagreeing with me. Not for being passionate about your work. But for the way you spoke to me. For disrespecting me on my own stage. For turning this segment into a personal attack instead of doing what you came here to do, show people a beautiful animal and teach them something meaningful. The audience applauded loudly. Kelly waited until the room settled again, and, to everyone watching at home, she said, softening, I want you to know I'm okay. I'm upset, I'm angry, yes, but I'm okay. What I won't do is let someone make me feel like I'm not doing enough, or that I'm not good enough, just because I don't meet their personal standards of activism.